ago, I did a 5-tire rotation on my 2023 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392, and I actually cracked my rear view camera when I was putting the spare tire back on. So here's what the camera currently looks like. You can see it's shattered all around, and I'll show you guys what the actual screen looks like whenever you put the Jeep in reverse. As you can see, my backup camera here is completely cracked. This is what the screen looks like whenever I put the Jeep into reverse. You can see the crack is mostly right up here on the top left portion, but it kind of affects the entire camera view. So hopefully once we replace this camera, it'll be brand new and actually be crystal clear so I can actually see where I'm backing up. As you can see, you can't really see very clearly out of the rear view camera, so I'm going to go ahead and replace this today and show you guys how to do it. But whenever you put the spare tire back on, this entire camera bezel actually comes off, so there's nothing really protecting the camera from being hit. So that's why it's kind of a, I would say maybe a bad design in the actual rear view camera and the spare tire system here. Maybe if Jeep were to put something like a hood on the actual camera post here, that would definitely prevent this from happening in the future. But in the future, I just know I need to be really careful whenever putting the spare tire back on so I don't hit the camera again. So let's go ahead and do a quick unboxing of this camera. This is just the camera replacement. I got this from Rock Auto for about $153. Right here is the part number. It is 68452959AC. Let's go ahead and unbox this thing and show you guys what it looks like here. It's actually really small from what I was expecting, but it's just a little rear view camera. Can't really expect anything much bigger than this, but here's what it looks like. So of course, obviously this will just be replacing the current cracked camera that I have back there. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're gonna have to do here is obviously take off the whole spare tire to actually get to the rear view camera. The first step in that is to remove this rear view camera bezel or protector, whatever you wanna call it. So to do that, we're gonna use this included Torx bit right here, this little Torx wrench that came with the Jeep. And if you look right here, there's a lock and unlock symbol. We just need to turn this so it's on the unlock position. Okay, and I was just about to say that this whole unlock lock system is very flimsy, and as you can see, it just kind of fell apart whenever I turned it. All we have to do now is just pull it off just like that. Alright, so now we just have to take off the 3 lug nuts that are holding on the spare tire. And I'm going to be using the included wrench that came with the Jeep as well. So let's go ahead and remove these right here. We got all the lug nuts removed. We can just go ahead and remove the spare tire. So now in order to get to the camera right here, we're going to have to take off this entire rear tire carrier. There are 8 nuts that we're going to have to remove. So 2 right here, 2 right here, 2 on the bottom, and then 2 on the bottom right here. So for this, I'm going to be using a 13 millimeter. Have 2 more screws to remove here, so keep in mind this whole tire carrier is now loose, so it might have been easier to remove these 2 screws before actually taking off the 8 nuts that hold on the tire carrier. But anyways, these 2 are going to be T25, so let's go ahead and take these off now. We got those 2 Torx screws unscrewed. We can go ahead and take off the whole tire carrier. So now if we look on the inside of the tire carrier here, It is just a little bit difficult to maneuver this whole thing because the cable is still attached. So I did put a little towel here, as you can see here, and I just have it propped up on like a cooler here. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about. Here's what I'm working with. I have a little cooler plus this stool, and it's just holding up the tire carrier just like this, because this wire is still attached, and then I have like a towel protecting the paint just so it doesn't get scratched. So it is a little bit flimsy, but you just have to do your best and kind of maybe use your body to hold it against the Jeep just so it doesn't fall down and rip the cable accidentally. Now that we removed those two T25s, this assembly right here is actually what holds the actual spare tire on. This is where the lug nuts are. We pull this out. As you can see here, these are the actual lug nuts that hold on your spare tire, and on the end is the actual rear view camera. Now here we have 3 more small Torx bits to actually remove, 3 on each side right here. Then we should just be able to unplug the camera and plug the new one back in. In order to remove the camera here, we are going to unscrew these 3 T8 Torx bits. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Alright, so these little T8s are just a little bit difficult to get to with this, big ratchet compared to the actual size of the screw. So just got to be very detailed here with how we remove these and make sure that I don't lose them, because if they are very small here. Sure, it probably would be a little bit easier with like a screwdriver, but I think this is pretty much all I have that'll take a T8 bit. Alright, we should just be able to get it off with my fingers here. Maybe. Alright, there we go. So, like I said, these are extremely small, so obviously make sure you don't lose them. Alright, so we got 2 off. We now just have 1 more to go. Let's see. Let's find the best way to hold this thing up. Just like that. I do like this ratchet because of this little turning thing on the end, so you don't actually have to like completely ratchet it. Just like that, you can just twist this little handle and it'll unscrew it, which is a lot easier for situations like this especially. I feel like that should be good. I can probably get it off by hand. There we go. And now the camera is loose. Alright, so now what we gotta do, we have all those T8s unscrewed. And now we can actually just take the camera right out, just like that. So if we compare the old one to the new one here, you can see it looks like this entire pink block has to come off. So instead of trying to pull on this little silver piece, I guess I just have to try to get that entire block off of the camera there. Alright, there we go. Came off pretty easily. So here we have the old camera. Let's go ahead and get the new one back in here. And then just a quick comparison here between the 2 cameras. Obviously you can see this one is pretty damaged, and then of course we have the brand new one right here. Alright, so now we can put this brand new camera into this little connector here. So let's see, looks like it goes in this way because it has a little tab on the bottom here. So I'm assuming it clips into this tab right there. There we go, I heard it click into place. So let's get into position here. Looks like that's how it should go. Now, before we actually put this thing all back together, of course, I'm gonna test out the new camera, see if it actually works. All right, got the Jeep turned on. Let's go ahead and put it into reverse. Moment of truth. All right, I'd say we're looking good right there. As you can see, a very clear screen, no cracks whatsoever. So really happy with that. Let's go ahead and put it back together. All right, so I feel like this next part is gonna be the most difficult out of this entire process. And that's gonna be getting these tiny little T8 screws back into place here without actually losing them. So see if I can do this. And these were super loose whenever I took them off, so I'm not gonna make them tight at all. Looks like this one's going on pretty well. All right, so I got one down. I got 2 more to go. All right. All right. Try to get this into place. All right, I think that should be good. Last one. Not as bad as I was expecting. There we go. Get it into place. I got them all, you know, as tight as they felt before, maybe even a little bit tighter, but I don't think they should be too tight. So now we can go ahead and very carefully assemble this rear view camera back into place. I need to be very careful about this because I don't want to be doing this again. So we just need to put it back in very gently, just like that. All right, so I went ahead and wiped off this plastic area here just to keep it clean while I have it off. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put the spare tire carrier back on very carefully. All right, there we go. Looks like the camera is still intact, not broken, not cracked. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to put the 8 nuts to hold the spare tire carrier back on. Have the 8 bolts holding on the spare tire carrier, we can go ahead and put on the 2 T25 bolts that hold on the actual lug nuts and the camera. Looks like I got them pretty tight, just gonna give them a few final turns here. Now, I'm not torquing these down to any kind of specs or anything. Just mostly going by feel. Now, when it comes to the lug nuts on, actual tires that you're going to be driving on, that's a different story. You definitely want to be torquing those down to the correct specs. I'm going to call that good. I'm going to go ahead and also wipe down this area here as well while I have the spare tire off. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. The part that I'm the most worried about, and that is putting the spare tire back on the spare tire carrier, because that is exactly how I cracked my rear view camera the last time. So as you can see here, we have the brand new rear view camera. I'm just gonna put a towel over it. Hopefully this helps a little bit. And then once I get the tire actually on the lug nuts and I know it's right, I'll just pull the towel back off and see how that works. Want to make sure that we have the tire in the correct orientation to put it back on. These tires are pretty heavy, so it does take a good amount. All right. Okay, I don't know if it's gonna work with a towel like that. Let's try this again. All right, what I did do that time that I didn't do last time is I got the tire kind of like on my knees so I could see where I was actually putting it. So that will definitely help. All right, round 2, let's try this again. Very carefully. All right, looks like it's on. Let's get the lug nuts. Wasn't too bad. The camera is not cracked. So I would call that a successful install. Now for the lug nuts here for the spare tire, They are supposed to be torqued down to 59 pound-feet of torque. I don't have my torque wrench right now, so I'm just gonna go by feel. Now, of course, like I said before, when you're putting on the wheels like that you actually drive on here, it's much more important to actually torque them down to the proper specs. So if I was doing a tire rotation, I definitely would have my torque wrench with me so I could torque them down to the proper specs. So let's go ahead and tighten these lug nuts back up. And before anybody asks or comments, no, I do not have an impact. I'm sure it would make this a whole lot easier, but for now this is all I have to work with. All right, so we got the 3 lug nuts back on the spare tire here. Now we need to put on this rear view camera protector, but like I said, this little locking system did come apart, so I'm going to show you guys how to put this thing back together. So if you can see here, we have this arrow pointing. We want this to be pointing in the unlocked position when we put it back in. So right about there is unlocked. Now we have to put this little mechanism back on. This is what actually locks and unlocks the system. So the flat part goes on the outside, just like that. There we go. And now this just slides back on just like that. And now all you have to do is use the included torque wrench, twist that to the locked position, and it should be all set. I'm sure you could probably yank it off and it would just come right off because of how flimsy this thing is, but hopefully that's good just like that. All right guys, so there you have it. That is a tutorial on how to install a brand new rear backup camera on my 2023 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392. Now I have to admit, it actually was a lot easier than I was expecting. Everything went really smoothly and I'm really happy with the install. I will go ahead and link my rear view camera that I bought from rockauto.com down in the description of this video, so if you want to buy one, go ahead and click that link. But I do also need to mention there are 2 different rear view cameras for the Jeep Wrangler JLs. Now, one of them, the one that I have, is the one that you need to get if you do not have the front integrated off-road camera. If you do have the front camera, then there is a different rear view camera that you have to get. And Rock Auto does have them distinguished on their website, so it is pretty easy to determine which one you actually need by just reading the description. But just keep in mind, the one that I'm linking down below is the one that you need to get if you do not have the front integrated off-road camera. So if you guys have any questions, make sure to drop those down in the comment section below. And make sure to subscribe for some more 392 and Jeep Cherokee XJ videos. And as always, thanks for watching.